the marriage is not eternal. God's made it very clear that we're not going to be married in heaven.
I don't like that.
I know.
I can't wait
but
to
it's still
ask him
true.
why.
Well, because he probably wanted to give you some rest for eternity.
There are many seasons of marriage, and we've talked with different guests on our podcast about that. You think about the season of being newlyweds, season of having small children, seasons of having teenagers, and
Being empty nesters.
soon to be empty nesters, launching kids. So many different seasons that we've journeyed through.
And I think what's important to do is to understand that through those seasons, one, how do we end a season well? And that's always looking back to in a lot of ways, grieve what was as we then move into this new season, what will be. And through that, so there's like hey, let's talk about highs and lows and memories and kind of grieve that loss. And then talk about, so what's our hope for this next season in our marriage?
Yeah, and even grieving what wasn't. The season didn't look like what we expected.
Yeah. But because we change, that's a given. So as we move through different seasons, we're always changing. And so it's really trying to stay up on, okay, now we're in this new season. Like we're in a new season where we have a puppy. That must be a new season because
It is a very new season, an
brutal.
unexpected season.
Yeah. And love the new puppy, but my goodness, just the sheer amount of time and effort. But in other words, we need something different than from each other. So it's really being able to talk through.
And
okay,
I think what it is that I need is sleep.
yeah, right. We just take turns. One of us is inside the crate with the puppy in a different room.
But that's why we have 2 children home right
That's
now,
true.
that they are responsible to get that dog up in the morning.
Let's make them do the work. Why are we doing the work?
I know.
Right, but we're always changing. So it's really learning how do we make sure that we're talking about, okay, in this new season, how can I best support you, or how can I best love you, or what do you need from me?
Right.
And to gain that kind of insight helps us to turn the page, enter in this new season really well. You know, one of the best marriage books of all times, Boundaries, one of the authors, Dr. John Townsend, made such an interesting statement that we're one flesh, not one soul. And I never thought about a distinction there.
Yeah, I've always wondered, like, the real meaning of becoming one.
Yeah.
And because we very much believe there's 2 individuals that make up a marriage, you know, kind of like the unity candle.
Yeah.
We had one at our wedding ceremony 32 years ago.
It tipped over and set our church on fire.
That didn't happen, but we did have a unity candle. And, you know, it's just, now we look at that so differently, because really a unity candle is 3 candles. You blow out the 2 and there's 1 remaining.
Yeah.
But what we know to be true is that 2 whole healthy individuals make up a healthy marriage. And so now we would have a unity candle, but we would leave all 3
Right.
burning.
Right. That's our problem with the unity candles. You blow out the 2 to focus on the 1, which is the marriage.
Right.
Which makes marriage an idol at that standpoint, if that's the most important thing. And funny enough, the marriage is not eternal. God's made it very clear that we're not going to be married in heaven.
I don't like that.
I know.
I can't wait
but
to
it's still
ask him
true.
why.
Well, because he probably wanted to give you some rest for eternity. Dealing with me can be challenging at times, right?
But it is so true what Dr. Townsend said, that there are still 2 souls, 2 hearts that have to be attended to.
Yeah, and that's for us. All 3 matter.
Yes.
So focus on the 2 individuals and the relationship.
Right.
As long as they're all in balance and all attended to and cared for, I mean, that's how you have a healthy marriage.
So interviewing Johnny Erickson.
That is truly one of my favorite interviews we've ever done.
It truly was mine too. I've talked about that interview with clients ever since then, because especially when they talked about 1 year into the marriage, Ken took the risk and said to Johnny, and I don't know if it was even a risk or if it just blurted out, that he felt trapped.
Yeah.
And she took great offense to that and looked at him and said, "What? You feel trapped? I feel trapped. I'm a quadriplegic."
Yeah.
And I love, because I asked her, that's how you responded at 1 year. And she said, yeah, because he said it 15 years later. And I said, well, how did you respond then? And she responded very differently with empathy.
Yeah, it was a beautiful contrast of going when our spouse says something that can trigger us. I mean, it happens to all of us. And then we shut down. So then we get into that big conflict versus what she was able to do, even though we said the exact same thing, I feel trapped, she was able to go to a place of empathy.
Yeah.
In what is so important in that is that when we're in reaction mode, so our buttons have been triggered, we're shut down, versus empathy requires an open heart. And that was what was different, is that she talked about learning how to keep her heart open and not to so quickly take it personal, what he's saying, allow his feelings to be his feelings. And how do I be strong with what I know to be true from God? I mean, she was doing such a beautiful job of keeping her heart open.
Yeah, and she responded instead at 15 years. She said, of course you feel trapped. This is hard. You're taking care of me, and of course you feel trapped, and I care about that, and we're in this together.
When we were interviewing them, I looked at you during that part, and I could see that you were melting.
Yes.
And I could hear your brain going, that would be so amazing if Greg only would do that.
Sometimes you do.
I know.
Sometimes,
it's hard for me.
Yeah, but you have to recognize it's hard to hear some things. It's also hard for a spouse to say the hard things.
Yeah.
But they so much advocated for say the hard thing, so you are fully known, and then work through it.
Yeah. And get to that place of empathy, because that's such a great gift.
For sure.
And it's hard. We get it. It's hard for me. Once again, I admitted to everyone that I am a peacemaker, that I tend to avoid conflict or even having some of those hard conversations. At times, I think Satan puts in my mind, like, don't rock the boat. It's just keep it peaceful. And yet, how important is it, right, to face some of those conversations and to have them. But what I'm learning is that really to have that, my heart really does need to be open to get in, to have that sort of a conversation.
Totally. And it's important for you to be able to set a boundary around what your heart needs.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, even though it's hard, it lets me know where the boundary is. Otherwise, I don't know where the boundary is.
Yeah.
I'll just zip right through your boundary. And I don't want to do that either, because I want your heart to be open to me.
Yeah, because I've learned that if we're in a certain discussion, or if a conflict is just going really poorly, that the most loving thing that I can do, or you can do, any one of us can do, is to say, I whatever that boundary needs to be, I'm doing that to keep my heart open. And I think that's what God's calling us to do, is He wants us to be open. He wants to love through us. And none of that's possible if I'm shut down, if I close my heart. And it's taken me a while to really fully embrace that it's okay. It's actually loving to say at times, you know what, maybe I'm not willing to have this discussion if you sharing your feelings is at my expense, or whatever it might be. I mean, I know you have to set things with me as well.
Yes.
But it is loving to do that.
And it's sometimes hard. Sometimes it's hard to even come up with what is the boundary that I need. I think just a nice little reference book that, what's a good boundary around that I could look up any topic.
I know.
Wouldn't that be great? Maybe
like an app.
Oh,
you could just type in, here's what's going on, give me the language through AI, what the right boundary would be.
We're going to
retire. We're going to develop that, and we will be retired in 1 year.
Okay, let's do it. Nope, I'm going to set a boundary.
Yeah.